Hello Magic fans, and welcome to another Historic Brawl gameplay video, this time featuring Roxanne, Starfall Savant. It's a gruul commander costing 5 mana, and it has whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, create a tapped colourless artifact token named Meteorite, which then when that comes into play it deals 2 damage to any target, and it taps to add 1 mana of any colour. And then she also has whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type that artifact token produced. So synergizes well with herself, because if she's still in play when that Meteorite token untaps, it'll produce 2 mana. And more importantly, it also works with treasure tokens, because you tap treasures when you sacrifice them, so they'll produce an extra mana as well. Important note, doesn't work with all treasures. There are a couple of treasures which aren't tokens. For example, Goldhound is a 1 mana treasure creature. And there's another one, I think, from the new set, which costs 3 mana. You can tap to add red, add a counter, and then you can sacrifice it to add X mana, which is the number of counters on it. But they're not tokens, so they wouldn't count. So just go through the deck check. I've split it nominally up into sections. So the first section is commander stuff / haste. Thing about her ability is, because it's when she enters the battlefield and attacks, if she can attack the first turn she comes down, you're getting 2 of those Meteorite tokens, you're pinging things twice for 4 in total, and even if she gets removed, like, she might attack, deal 4 damage or something, get blocked by something, and probably kill it, even if she dies, because she's created those 2 mana rocks, then you're going to have that mana next turn to pay for her command attacks. And if she comes down with haste again, she can do it again. So we have Swiftfoot boots. Equipment gives the creature haste, also hexproof. And Rise of Day is really powerful from the Lord of the Rings set. All creatures you control have haste, and legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. I've put Tome of Legends in here as well. It doesn't give anything haste, but it is a commander synergy. It just lets you draw cards. Next up we have Ramp. So Elvish Mystic and Llanowar Elves, pretty much the same. Arcane Signet, there should be 1 mana of any colour. Mindstone as colours, you can also sacrifice it to draw later on. Iron Crag, add a colourless. It can turn into an equipment, but I don't think I've seen anyone ever do that, and I haven't done it, because while it does give the creature +3/+3, they do lose all other abilities, which is quite bad. Especially for commander. Then Cultivate, put a land onto the battlefield, one in your hand. Harrow, sacrifice a land to get 2 more basic lands put on the battlefield. Interestingly enough, this one does not cause them to enter tap, so you can use that mana straight away. Relic of Legends, tap to add 1 mana any colour, but then you can tap an untapped legendary creature to also add mana, so if you have more legendary creatures you can add more mana. Skyclave Relic, add 1 of any colour. But interestingly, if you kick it, you get 2 tap tokens of it, and they will synergize with Roxanne as well, but only the tokens. Then for Celeste, add 1 mana of any colour and has day-night synergies. And then Firemind Vessel, endless tapped, add 2 mana to different colours. You could play Key to the Archives here for a bit more value, but that causes you to discard a card as well. Next up, we have card draw. Now, card draw is very important with Roxanne, because unlike with, say, Kinnan, which Kinnan does a very similar thing of increases your mana, Kinnan only costs 2 mana, so when you play him, chances are you're going to have a lot more cards in your hand, whereas Roxanne costs 5, so you're going to have less. And obviously Kinnan has that inbuilt ability where you can pay 7 to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, I think, and put a creature into play. Roxanne doesn't have that, so you need a way to get more cards, because there's no point having a lot more mana if you have nothing to cast it, use it on. So first off, we have Up the Beanstalk, draws a card when it comes into play, and whenever you play a spell with mana value 5 or greater, Roxanne has mana value 5 or greater, so you'll draw a card with that. Garruk's Uprising, if you control a creature with 4 when it comes into, or 4 or greater when it comes to play, draw a card. And then whenever you play a creature with 4 or greater power, you also draw a card. Roxanne has power 4 or greater, so that's synergized as well. Also gives all your creatures trample, which is quite good. Runic Armor Saw, I'm not entirely sure about this one, but it could be useful. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. So any fetch land, if anyone uses a fetch land with this in play, you will draw a card, which could be powerful. Druid to the World Tree, anytime you play a creature with power 3 or greater, again, Roxanne has power 3 or greater. Draw a card. Otherwise, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, which is quite good if you draw, say, a Lana or Elves later on. You can play it, so you've got a 3/3 elf, which is better than a 1/1 elf. Guardian Project, pretty much a staple for any green commander deck. Whenever you play a creature that doesn't share a name with any other creature on the battlefield or in your graveyard, draw a card. And in a singleton format, you're not going to have any other creatures with the same name. Toski, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's also indestructible and it has to attack each turn if able. And then Great Henge, obviously, again, a staple for any green deck. Cost 9, but the generic mana is reduced by your X, where X is the greatest power amongst creatures you control. So if you have Roxanne in play, that brings it down to 5. If you have something like Dracoseph in play, it'll bring it down to 2. Tap to add 2 green, gain 2 life, which is very useful. One for ramp, but also just to stabilise. And then whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it and you draw a card. It is not unusual if you have a few of these down to play a commander and then get 3 or 4 card draws, which pretty much immediately just restocks your hand. Next up we have removal, so Lightning Bolt and Shock, the old favourites. A Braid, good at dealing with artifacts as well. Lava Coil, a bit of a bigger damage, but only sorcery speed. Again, Lightning Strike. Brotherhood's End, bit of a nombo because it would kill Roxanne, because Roxanne's only got 3 toughness, and produces artifacts, so it would get rid of all your artifacts. But if you're against a commander that's quite quick, it would be quite good to play this before you play Roxanne. And here is Warcrafting, deals 5 to target creature, Planeswalker Battle, and then you can look at X cards in your library, pick one of those and play that card this turn, where X is the excess damage. So if you damage something for 3, if you damage something that has 3 toughness, then you'll look at the top 2. Decimate is a reprint in the new set. Destroy target artifact, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. You have to be able to target all of them. So, but in Commander, everyone's going to have an artifact. A lot of people are going to have enchantments, and obviously everyone will have lands and probably creatures. Shadow's Goal Smashing can be played as a land, but also can be played as an X burn spell to creatures and planeswalkers. And then Spiteful Banditry, again from Lord of the Rings, deals X damage to each creature, and whenever one or more creatures your opponent controls die, you create treasure. Only triggers once each turn. Basically the red Meat Hook Massacre. And next up we have Treasure Producers. So Great Train Heist is a new card with Spree. This means you pay the base cost, which is in the top right, and then you can pay any of the additional costs. You have to pay 1, otherwise you won't get one. The one that we're most interested in is the last one, which costs a red. You choose target opponent. Whenever a creature controlled does combat damage to that player, you create a tapped treasure token. So, and it's an instant. So you attack with 3 creatures and they don't block any. You can play this and you'll get 3 treasures. You can also give all your creatures +1, +0, and first strike at the end of the turn, which is again as an instant. It's a great way to ambush the opponent, and then if you play it during your combat phase, you can play an extra 3 to get an additional combat phase. So if you have 7 mana lying around, you can do all of them, and 7 mana is not hard to get with this deck, so that is something that is very possible to do. Next, Ragavan, everyone's favourite card. If it hits a player, you steal their top card of their library and you create treasure. Charming Scoundrel, you can either discard a card and draw a card when it comes to play, create a treasure, which is what we'll be doing, or create a wicked roll attached to a target creature. Also has haste, which is good, chipping for 1. Generous Plunderer, another new card from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Well, technically it's from the Big Score, which is a supplementary set. Has Menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a treasure token. When you do, target opponent also creates a treasure token, although theirs is tapped. And when it attacks, it deals damage to the defending player equal to the number of artifacts they control. Obviously, Brawl is quite artifact heavy with all the treasures, with all the mana rocks, that kind of thing. So, apart from the 2 damage from Menace, you'll probably be chipping in for 1, 2, or even more. And if you've been giving them treasure as well and they haven't used it. Magda, the original Magda, other dwarves you control get +1/+0. There's only one other dwarf in the deck, so that's not really relevant. And whenever dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token, which will be Magda or Stormkill an artist, and then you can sacrifice 5 treasures, search the library for an artifact or dragon card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle. We have a few dragons in the deck, a few big ones, so if you have 5 treasures, we can do that quite easily. Wily Goblin, 2 mana, 1/1, just creates a treasure token. when it enters the battlefield. Breaches, whenever a pirate you control attacks, choose one that has been token this turn, create a treasure token, target creature can't block this turn, or exile a top card of the library, you may play it this turn. Breaches itself is a pirate, and so is Captain Landry Storm, which is the next one. So might get a couple of triggers. Captain Landry Storm has haste, and whenever Captain Landry Storm attacks, create a treasure token, and when you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Storm gets +1/+0 to end of turn. Professional Facebreaker, whenever one or more creatures you control do combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, and then you can sacrifice a treasure to exile a top card of your library, you may play that card this turn. That's quite a good way to get some impulse card draw as well. If you haven't got any other card draw things going on, you'll probably have a few treasures lying around. You can sacrifice those to get more cards. Zorn, whenever you create a treasure, you create an extra treasure. Doesn't produce treasure by itself, but it will get you a lot more treasures. Tireless Provisioner, Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield, you create a food or a treasure. We'll be doing treasure. Jolene, when you attack with one or more creatures with power 4 or greater, create a treasure token. That she does count herself, so if she just attacks by herself, you'll gain a treasure. Then you can pay 1 on a red, sacrifice treasure, and you can ping any target. Then I've got all 3 of the basically the big score: pay 4, discard a card, draw 2, create 2 treasures. So big score: Pirate's Pillage and Unexpected Windfall. They are fundamentally exactly the same, apart from Unexpected Windfall takes 2 red as opposed to 1 red. Then Stormkiln Artist gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. We'll have quite a lot of artifacts, so that will get quite big. And then Magecraft, which means whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. We don't have many instant sorceries, just the removal ones, but we do have them, so we'll get some treasures from there. And then finally, Goldspan Dragon, one of the best treasure payoffs and creators there is. 5 mana, fly and haste, whenever it attacks or becomes a target of a spell, create a treasure. And treasures you control gain, you can basically sacrifice to 2 mana instead of 1. And then this small group here is more treasure payoffs or artifacts payoffs. So Teething Wormlet, 1 mana, 1/1. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under control, you gain a life, and then if it's the first time it resolves its turn, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And as long as you have 3 or more artifacts, which we will quite easily, it has Death Touch. So that can get quite big with Death Touch. Reckless Fireweaver is a bit of a sneaky one, I think. Whenever an artifact enters your battlefield under control, it does 1 damage to any opponent. When I was testing this deck out, I did have a game where the opponent was on 3. He used the card to kill 2 of my creatures, but not this one. I played my commander, I even may have had a commander and attacked with it, pinged him for 2 with the meteorite, and then because I had that artifact enter the battlefield under my control, pinged him for 1 using this. And then Gadruk's a 3 mana 5/4, which isn't as impressive now as it was even a few years ago, but it's still pretty good. But it can't attack unless you control 4 more artifacts, which again won't be hard to do. But at the beginning of your end step, you create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. And finally, the last one is more big mana payoffs. So Terror of the Peaks has been reprinted in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, but it's a great card. It essentially has Ward 3. It's not worded like that. I think it was created before Ward existed. But then whenever another Ward 3 life, sorry, not to pay 3 mana. When another creature enters the battlefield under control, it deals damage to that equal to that creature's power to any target. That's very powerful, even with Commander doing 4. Elder Gargaroth, 5 mana 6/6 with Vigilance for each trample. Whenever it attacks or blocks, you can choose to either create a 3/3 green base creature token, gain 3 life, or draw a card. So that's really good depending on what you need at the time. Primeval Titan, when it ETBs or attacks, you search the land for 2 land cards. Fortunately, no Amulet Vigor on Arena. That would have made it more powerful, and it would have made Roxanne more powerful because it meant her meteorite tokens would have entered untapped. But oh well, maybe in the future. Kogla the Titan Ape, big 7/6. When it ETBs, it fights 1 creature, so additional removal, and when it attacks, it destroys target artifact or enchanting defender player controls. You can also pay 2 to return target human you control to its own hand to gain indestructible. I don't think we've got many humans. We do have some, but not massive amounts, so that's probably not going to come up. Atali, when it ETBs, you exile cards from the top of each player's library to exile a non-land card. You may play those cards for free. You can then play 9 and a Phyrexian green, so 9 or 10 mana to turn it into a 11/11 trample indestructible, basically ruin effect. So kind of like a Blightsteel Colossus. It has happened, doesn't really happen often. Once you play a Tali, it's usually game over. Drakaseth, 7/7, when it attacks, it deals 4 to any target, then 3 to each of up to 2 other targets. So a great way to clear a board, and especially if you have Rise of the Day out, so it's got haste, you can put this down and attack a bit. Titan of Industry, choose 2 and ETBs, destroy target artifact of enchantment, target player gains for life, create a 4/4 Rhino, and put a shield counter on creature you control. Also has reach and trample, very, very powerful, very versatile. Turn Timber Symbiosis can be played for a land, but also if you can look at the top 7 of your library, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, then if it's small enough you put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Last March of the Ents, draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Very powerful, especially if you've got a big creature in play. And then Thunderous Debut, look at the top 20 of the library. You can put 2 cards into your creature cards in your hand if you bargain it, which means sacrifice a creature, artifact, enchantment, or token. You can put those onto play. Technically very powerful. The amount of times I've played this and there's not been anything, or there's been like a land and what else in the top 20, kind of irritating. But that's the risk we run. And then mana base, pretty standard, as many dual lands as we can get. Got Cavern of Souls just to make commander uncounterable. Nixos, because while it's a two-colour deck, we do have a lot of mana pips, especially with green, with things like Great Henge and Tribute to the World Tree. Prismatic Vista, which is new. It's basically it's a bit like pay 1 for a Fable Passage, but it doesn't have tapped at all. So that's it. So I think without any further ado, let's get into the gameplay and see how it goes.
never see me coming. I know something you don't know. There's no secret I can't uncover. Woulda had me if I wasn't so fast. Don't you see I'm trying to help? Now this is a juicy secret. Compromised. Time to go.
more distractions. Let's make this quick. Haven't you ever heard of personal space?
the sake of all Innistrad, my will must be obeyed. My ways are not for the weak.